The $5 bill hit the counter like a desperate prayer. "Please," the little girl whispered, her voice cracking. "It's all I have. My mama's birthday is tomorrow, and she cries every night when she thinks I'm asleep." Behind her, a man in a $1,000 coat stopped breathing. He hadn't felt anything in 3 years, not since he buried his wife and unborn daughter on the same rainy afternoon. But something about this child's trembling hands made his chest tighten. He didn't know it yet, but this girl with her wrinkled $5 was about to save his life. And he was about to change hers forever in ways neither of them could imagine. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. Margaret Chen had owned this bakery for 31 years. She'd seen thousands of customers walk through that door, happy ones, sad ones, rushed ones, lonely ones. She could read people the moment they stepped inside the way some folks read weather or stock tickers. But she'd never seen anyone quite like the little girl who pushed open the door that Tuesday afternoon. The child couldn't have been more than 6 years old. Blonde hair pulled into 2 lopsided pigtails, clearly done by small hands without a mirror. A pink dress with faded flowers, washed so many times the fabric had grown thin at the elbows. And eyes. God, those eyes, blue as summer sky, but carrying something no child's eyes should carry. Wait. Worry. The kind of quiet determination that comes from growing up too fast. "Hello there, sweetheart," Margaret said, setting down her rag. "Can I help you?" The girl approached the counter slowly, like she was walking into a church. She clutched a small canvas bag against her chest, with both hands, knuckles white from gripping so hard. "I need to buy a birthday cake," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but steady, practiced, like she'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. "For my mama. She's turning 30 tomorrow," Margaret smiled. "That's very sweet. What kind of cake does your mama like?" "Chocolate." No hesitation. "She loves chocolate more than anything, and flowers. She always stops to look at flowers when we walk past the park, even when she's tired, even when her feet hurt from working all day." The girl paused, then reached into her canvas bag. "But I only have $5. She placed the bill on the counter like it was made of glass, worn creased soft from being handled too many times. Margaret could see it had been folded and unfolded dozens of times, probably counted over and over in the dark. "I saved it," the girl continued, "for 3 months, from my allowance. 25 cents every week when Mama could spare it. I know it's not much, but—" Her voice cracked. "But Mama deserves something beautiful. She works so hard. 2 jobs. She's always tired. And she never buys anything for herself. Never. Not even a coffee. She says we can't afford extras." Margaret's heart clenched. The cheapest cake in her display case was $25. The one this child was staring at, a gorgeous chocolate layer cake with buttercream roses cascading down the side, was $75. "What's your name, honey?" "Lily. Lily Patterson. My mama's name is Sarah." "Well, Lily, that's a beautiful name. Why don't you look around and tell me which cake you think your mama would love most?" Lily pressed her nose against the glass, studying each cake with the intensity of a jeweler examining diamonds. Her breath fogged the display case. Her fingers traced the glass, hovering over each option. Then she stopped. "That one," she breathed, pointing to the chocolate cake with the roses. "That one is perfect. Mama would cry if she saw that cake. The happy kind of crying." Margaret opened her mouth to gently explain that the cake cost more than the bell above the door chimed. A man walked in. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair graying at the temples, and the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. Handsome in that distinguished way that comes with age and success. But there was something wrong with his eyes. They were empty, hollow, like windows into a house where no one lived anymore. He wore a black wool coat that probably cost more than Margaret's monthly rent. Underneath, a charcoal suit perfectly tailored, Italian leather shoes, a watch that caught the light. Margaret didn't know watches, but she knew expensive when she saw it. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the way he moved. Slow. Heavy. Like every step took conscious effort. Like gravity worked harder on him than everyone else. Margaret had seen that walk before. On widows. On parents who'd buried children. On people who'd lost the thing that made living worthwhile. He moved to stand behind Lily, waiting his turn, with the automatic politeness of someone operating on autopilot. His eyes were fixed somewhere in the middle distance, seeing nothing, thinking about something far away. "Excuse me, sweetheart," Margaret said to Lily. "Let me just help this gentleman real quick, and then we'll figure out your mama's cake, okay?" But Lily was already turning around. She looked up at the man, way up, her small face tilted back, studying him with that unsettling directness only children possess. "Excuse me, mister," she said. The man blinked, pulled out of whatever dark place he'd been. "Yes." "Why are you so sad?" The air in the bakery went still. Margaret held her breath. The man stared down at the little girl, his composure cracking for just a moment. "I'm sorry." "You're sad," Lily said matter-of-factly. "I can tell. Your eyes look like Mama's eyes when she thinks I'm asleep, and she looks at Daddy's picture, like you're missing someone really bad." The man's jaw tightened. He started, then stopped. Margaret watched something shift in his face, some wall trembling. "You're very observant," he finally said. "Mama says I notice things other people don't see." Lily tilted her head. "Who do you miss? Is it someone who went to heaven?" The man closed his eyes, just for a second. When he opened them, they were wet. "Yes," he said quietly. "Someone who went to heaven." "I'm sorry." Lily's voice was soft, gentle. The voice of someone who understood loss in a way no 6-year-old should. "My daddy went to heaven too, when I was 3. I don't remember him much. Just that he used to sing to me. Mama says he had the best voice." The man crouched down so he was at Lily's eye level. His expensive coat brushed the floor. He didn't seem to notice. "I'm sorry about your father," he said. "What's your name?" "Lily." "What's yours?" "Daniel. Daniel Whitmore." "Hi, Daniel." She smiled at him, a real smile, bright and warm, despite everything she'd just shared. "Are you buying a cake, too?" Daniel glanced at the display case, then back at Lily. "No, I was just passing by. I used to come here with someone a long time ago. I'm not sure why I stopped in today." "Maybe because you needed to," Lily said simply. Daniel stared at her. "Mama says things happen for a reason," Lily continued. "Even the sad things. Even the things that don't make sense. She says God has a plan, even when we can't see it." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Your mama sounds like a wise woman. She's the best mama in the whole world." Lily's face lit up. "That's why I'm buying her a birthday cake. She works so hard, 2 whole jobs, and she never ever buys anything nice for herself. I wanted to surprise her with something beautiful." She pointed at the chocolate cake with the roses. "That one. It's perfect. But," her voice dropped, "I only have $5. She held up the worn bill. "I saved it for 3 months. I know it's not enough for that cake. But Mrs. She looked at Margaret's name tag. "Mrs. Chen is going to help me figure something out. Right, Mrs. Chen." Margaret nodded, her throat tight. "That's right, sweet pea. We're going to figure something out." Daniel looked at the $5 bill in Lily's small hand, then at the $75 cake, then at Lily's face, so full of hope, so determined, so brave. Something broke in his chest. "Lily," he said carefully, "can I ask you something?" "Okay. Why is it so important that your mama has a nice birthday?" Lily's expression shifted, older somehow, weighted. "Because mama cries at night." The words hung in the air. "She thinks I don't know," Lily continued, her voice smaller now. "She waits until I'm asleep. But sometimes I wake up and I hear her in the kitchen. She cries and looks at bills and says Daddy's name and asks God to help her. She's so tired all the time. Her feet hurt from standing at the restaurant all day. And then she goes to clean offices at night and doesn't come home until really late. Lily's chin trembled, but she didn't cry. Mama never gets anything nice. Not ever. Her birthday last year, she said we couldn't celebrate because we needed to pay the electric bill. She smiled and said it was okay, but I saw her crying later when she thought I couldn't see. She took a shaky breath. I just wanted one day where Mama feels special. One day where she gets a beautiful cake with flowers, and she knows that someone loves her enough to save up for 3 whole months. I wanted her to smile. Really smile. Not the tired kind of smile she does when she's pretending everything's okay. Lily looked up at Daniel. That's why. Daniel Whitmore hadn't cried in 3 years. Not at the funeral. Not in the months that followed. Not on the anniversaries, the birthdays, the holidays that came and went like wounds that wouldn't heal. He'd built walls so high and so thick that nothing could get through. He'd buried himself in work and numbers, in the cold comfort of success that meant nothing. But this little girl with her $5 and her mother's tears and her quiet, fierce love, she broke something open. Mrs. Chen, Daniel said, standing up. His voice was rough. I'd like to buy that chocolate cake, the one with the roses. Sir, that cake is $75. I know. He pulled out his wallet. I'd also like to add whatever else $5 would buy. Cookies, cupcakes, whatever Lily thinks her mother would like. Her $5 should count for something. Lily's eyes went wide. Mr. Daniel? It's just Daniel. He crouched back down to face her. And before you say you can't accept it, let me tell you something. Today is my birthday too. Really? Really? I'm 43 today, and I was going to spend it alone in my apartment, probably staring at the walls like I do every year. But you know what? I think I'd rather spend it being your partner. My partner. Birthday cake partners. Daniel held out his hand. You give me your $5, I'll add the rest, and we'll buy this cake together. It'll be from both of us, for your mama and for me. Because I think buying a beautiful cake for a woman who works 2 jobs and loves her daughter enough to cry quietly so she won't worry her. I think that's a pretty good way to spend a birthday. Better than being alone. Lily looked at his outstretched hand. Mama says I shouldn't take things from strangers. That's smart. Your mama's right. Daniel nodded seriously. But I'm not giving you anything. We're partners. You're contributing your $5, that's 3 months of saving. That's real. That matters. I'm just filling in the gap. Lily considered this. Like when Mama and I make dinner together, she does the hard parts, and I do the parts I can reach. Daniel's smile was small, but real. The first real smile he'd managed in longer than he could remember. Exactly like that. Lily looked at Mrs. Chen. Is that okay? Can we be partners? Margaret wiped her eyes with her apron. I think that's just about the sweetest thing I've ever seen in this bakery. Yes, honey, that's more than okay. Lily turned back to Daniel and shook his hand with great solemnity. Okay, partners. She handed him her $5 bill. Daniel took it carefully like it was something precious, which he realized it was. 3 months of a child's patience and hope folded into a worn piece of paper. He placed it on the counter alongside his black American Express card. The cake, he said. Whatever cookies or treats $5 will cover. And he paused, thinking, do you have any candles? Birthday candles. Of course, Margaret said. Add those too. You can't have a birthday cake without candles to wish on. While Margaret boxed up the cake and selected a generous assortment of chocolate chip cookies, Lily's contribution, she announced. Daniel and Lily sat at one of the small cafe tables by the window. Can I ask you something? Lily said, swinging her legs because they didn't reach the floor. Anything. The person you miss, the one who went to heaven. Was it your wife? Daniel's breath caught. Yes, he said quietly. Her name was Catherine. She died 3 years ago, on our anniversary. That's really sad. It is. What was she like? Daniel was quiet for a moment. No one asked him about Catherine anymore. People tiptoed around her memory, like it was something fragile, something that might shatter if touched. She was... He searched for words. She was warm, like sunlight. She made every room brighter just by being in it. She laughed at my terrible jokes. She always burned the toast but made the best coffee. And she wanted... His voice broke. She wanted to be a mother, more than anything. Lily reached across the table and put her small hand over his. I bet she would have been a really good mama. Daniel couldn't speak. He just nodded. Maybe that's why you stopped in today, Lily said thoughtfully. Maybe she sent you here, to help me get Mama's cake. Daniel looked at this little girl, this small, fierce-loving child who'd known him for 20 minutes and understood him better than people he'd known for years. Maybe she did, he whispered. Mr. Daniel. Just Daniel. Daniel. Lily's face was serious. If you're alone on your birthday, that's not right. Nobody should be alone on their birthday. Do you want to come to Mama's party tomorrow? It's not fancy. We're just having cake in our apartment. But you could come. You could be part of our birthday celebration, like partners. Daniel stared at her. Your mother doesn't even know me. She might not. Mama always says we should be kind to people who are lonely or hurting. She says that's what Daddy would want us to do. Lily tilted her head. You're lonely and hurting, I can tell, so Mama would definitely want you to come. Margaret appeared with 2 bakery boxes, the cake in one, the cookies in another. All ready, she said, smiling through tears she didn't bother hiding. I added a few extra cookies, on the house, for the birthday partners. Daniel stood pulling out a business card. He handed it to Lily. This has my phone number on it. Ask your mama to call me if she's comfortable having me come tomorrow. If I don't hear from her, I'll understand. No pressure. Lily studied the card, mouthing the words she could read. Whitmore. Tech. No. Low. Geese. She looked up. What's that? It's my company. I build computer programs. Like for games? Sometimes. Mostly for businesses. That's cool. She tucked the card carefully into her canvas bag. I'll tell Mama to call you. She will. I know she will. How do you know? Lily smiled. Because Mama always says the best things happen when we're kind to strangers. And you were kind to me. So, something good has to happen now. That's how it works. Daniel helped Lily carry the boxes outside. She gave him her address, a modest apartment building about 6 blocks away, and he insisted on walking her home. I can carry them myself, she protested. I'm strong. I know you are. But these are heavy, and it's getting late, and I think your mama would feel better if someone made sure you got home safe with all this. Lily considered this. Okay, but only because the cake is really heavy. They walked through the late afternoon streets, the October light turning golden as it slanted through the buildings. Lily chattered about school, about her teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, about the book she was reading, about a girl who trained dragons. Daniel mostly listened. He'd forgotten how to do this, just be present with another person. For 3 years, every conversation had felt like performance. Smiling when expected, nodding at appropriate moments, never really there. But with Lily, he didn't have to perform. She didn't expect anything from him except honesty. They reached her building, a clean but tired-looking brick structure with a small courtyard. Lily led him up 2 flights of stairs to apartment 2C. She knocked. Mama, I'm home? The door opened, and Daniel's world shifted. Sarah Patterson was not what he expected. He wasn't sure what he'd expected, someone older maybe. Someone worn down. Instead, he found himself looking at a young woman late 20s with the same blue eyes as her daughter. and the kind of face that must have been stunning before exhaustion carved lines around her mouth. She was still in her waitress uniform, black polo-stained apron hair escaping from a hasty ponytail. Her feet were in orthopedic shoes, the kind people wore when they stood for 12 hours a day. She looked at the bakery boxes, then at Daniel. Her expression shifted from surprise to wariness in a heartbeat. "Lily," she said slowly, "who is this?" "This is Daniel. He's my birthday cake partner." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Your what?" "He helped me buy your cake, Mama. The chocolate one with the roses. The one you would love. I had $5, but it wasn't enough, and Daniel was at the bakery too, and he was sad because his wife went to heaven, and it's his birthday too, so we decided to be partners and buy the cake together." The words tumbled out in a rush, but they weren't making things better. Sarah's posture had gone rigid protective. Daniel stepped back, giving her space. "Mrs. Patterson," he said carefully, "I know how this looks. A strange man walking your daughter home with expensive gifts. I want you to know that I approached the situation very carefully. Lily and I met by coincidence at Mrs. Chen's bakery. She was trying to buy you a birthday cake with money she'd saved for months, and I was having a difficult day. Your daughter's kindness touched me. I offered to help with the cake as a partner. She insisted on contributing her $5. I only walked her home to ensure she and the cake arrived safely." He pulled out another business card and handed it to Sarah. "I run Whitmore Technologies. You're welcome to verify that. I don't have any ulterior motive here. Your daughter reminded me what kindness looks like. I'd forgotten." Sarah looked at the card. Her eyes widened. "You're Daniel Whitmore. The Daniel Whitmore. I don't know about but yes. Your company's worth like $1 billion. The valuation varies." He attempted a small smile. "Today, right now, I'm just a guy who met your daughter at a bakery on a hard day." Sarah looked at Lily, who was bouncing on her toes. "Mama, can we show him the cake?" "Please, I picked it out myself. It has roses." Sarah's expression softened. She couldn't stay suspicious of anything that made her daughter this happy. "Let's get inside first," she said. The apartment was small living room, tiny kitchen, 2 bedrooms no bigger than closets. But it was clean and warm, and covered with evidence of love. Lily's drawings taped to every surface, a shelf of well-worn books, photos in mismatched frames, a young couple on their wedding day, a baby's first steps, a man with Lily's smile holding her as an infant. Sarah cleared space on the small kitchen table, and they set down the boxes. When she opened the cake box, she stopped breathing. The chocolate layer cake sat there like something out of a dream, dark, rich, glistening. Buttercream roses cascading down one side in shades of pink and white. Beautiful, extravagant. The kind of cake Sarah hadn't allowed herself to even look at in years. "Lily," she whispered, "Do you love it?" Lily grabbed her hand. "I knew you would love it. I told Daniel you would cry the happy kind of crying." Sarah's eyes were indeed filling with tears. "Baby, this is too much. We can't." "It's already paid for," Daniel said gently. "Lily's $5 and my contribution. We're partners. You can't refuse a gift from partners." Sarah wiped her eyes. When she looked at Daniel, her wariness had shifted to something else. Something like wonder. "Why?" she asked simply. "You don't know us." Daniel was quiet for a moment. 3 years ago, he said, I lost my wife. Catherine. She was pregnant. There were complications. I lost them both. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. Since then I've been existing, going through the motions, building my company bigger because it was the only thing I knew how to do, shutting everyone out, convincing myself I was fine when really I was just frozen. He looked at Lily, who was carefully opening the cookie box and counting the treats inside. Today is my birthday, 43 years old. I woke up alone in an apartment that's too big and too quiet. I went to that bakery because Catherine and I used to go there together. I don't even know why. Some kind of punishment, maybe. Or penance. He took a breath. And then I met your daughter. And she looked at me, really looked at me, and asked why I was sad. No one's asked me that in 3 years. Everyone just pretends I'm fine because it's easier. His voice grew rough. She was trying to buy you a birthday cake with $5. $5 she saved for 3 months. And she told me about you, how you work 2 jobs, how you never buy anything for yourself, how you cry at night when you think she's asleep. Sarah flinched. And I thought, here's this child with almost nothing trying to give her mother a moment of joy. And here I am with more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and I haven't given anyone a moment of anything in years. I've just been taking up space, wasting air. He met Sarah's eyes. Your daughter didn't just help me buy a cake. She woke me up. She reminded me that there are still good things in the world. Still people who love each other. Still reasons to get out of bed in the morning. He pulled out his wallet and placed his $5 bill, the one Lily had given him, on the table. I want you to have this back. It belongs to her. To both of you. Sarah looked at the bill, at the cake, at her daughter, at this strange, sad, wealthy man standing in her tiny kitchen. Lily invited you to my birthday party tomorrow, she said quietly. She did, but I told her it was your decision. If you're not comfortable, are you going to be alone otherwise? Daniel nodded. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I've spent the last 3 years trying to hold everything together by myself, she finally said. Working until I can barely stand, crying when Lily's asleep because I don't want her to see me fall apart, pretending I'm strong when really I'm just terrified, every single day. Her voice broke. My husband died when Lily was 3. Car accident, here one day gone the next, left me with a toddler and a mountain of debt, and no idea how I was going to survive. She wiped her eyes. And somehow I did. Somehow we did. Because Lily needed me. Because giving up wasn't an option. She looked at Daniel. But I know what alone feels like. I know what it's like to wake up in the dark and reach for someone who isn't there, to have entire days where you don't want to exist, but you keep going anyway because someone depends on you. She took a breath. Come to the party tomorrow, please. It's just us, just cake and ice cream in this tiny apartment. Nothing fancy. But no one should spend their birthday alone, especially not someone who made my daughter smile like that. Daniel felt something crack in his chest. Are you sure? Mama always says we should be kind to people who are lonely or hurting, Lily announced from beside the cookie box. You said so yourself. Remember? Sarah laughed a real laugh, tired but warm. I did say that. She extended her hand to Daniel. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Don't bring anything except yourself, and maybe some ice cream if you want. Lily likes strawberry. Daniel shook her hand. I'll be here. He left a few minutes later after Lily made him promise 3 more times that he'd come after Sarah walked him to the door, and thanked him again with tears still wet on her cheeks. He walked back through the darkening streets in a daze. Something had happened to him today, something he couldn't quite name yet. For 3 years, he'd been drowning. Slowly, quietly, invisibly. Surrounded by money and success and all the things that were supposed to matter, but sinking anyway. And then a little girl with $5 had looked at him and seen the truth. She'd thrown him a lifeline without even knowing it. Tomorrow he'd go to a birthday party in a tiny apartment with a woman he'd just met, and a child who called him her partner. And for the first time in 3 years, Daniel Whitmore had something to look forward to. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. Clear my schedule tomorrow, all of it. Sir, you have the board meeting at, cancel it. But I have somewhere more important to be. He hung up and kept walking. Above him, the first stars were appearing, and somewhere Daniel thought Catherine was smiling. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay in his king-sized bed in his penthouse apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about a little girl with $5 and a mother who cried when no one was watching. At 3 a.m., he got up and wandered through his apartment. 4,000 square feet of polished concrete and designer furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A kitchen he never used. A living room where no one ever sat. He stopped in front of the bookshelf where he kept Catherine's things. Her reading glasses, her favorite mug. The ultrasound photo they'd framed together back when they still believed in happy endings. "I met someone today," he said to the empty room. "A little girl. She reminded me of you." Silence answered him. "She looked at me like you used to. Like she could see through all the walls I've built. Like she knew exactly who I was underneath." He picked up the ultrasound photo. "I've been so lost, Kath. For 3 years. Just drifting. Pretending to be alive when really I've just been waiting to stop existing." His throat tightened. But this kid. This 6-year-old with her wrinkled $5 bill and her too big dress. She asked me why I was sad. And I couldn't lie to her. I didn't want to. He set the photo down. "I'm going to a birthday party tomorrow. In a tiny apartment with a woman who works 2 jobs and a child who thinks I'm her partner. And I'm terrified. Because for the first time in 3 years, I actually want something. I want to show up. I want to be there. I want to feel something again." He wiped his eyes. "I think you'd like them. I think you'd tell me to stop being an idiot and let them in." He took a shaky breath. "So that's what I'm going to try to do. I don't know how. I've forgotten how to be a person. But I'm going to try." He went to bed after that, but still didn't sleep. By 4 p.m. the next day, Daniel had changed clothes 6 times. He stood in front of his closet surrounded by suits that cost more than most people's monthly salaries and realized he had no idea what to wear to a 6-year-old's birthday party for her mother in a small apartment. He called his assistant. "Margaret, I need your help." "Of course, sir. What do you need?" "What do normal people wear to birthday parties?" There was a long pause. "Sir, birthday parties. Casual ones. In someone's home. What do people wear?" Another pause. "Are you feeling all right, Mr. Whitmore?" "I'm fine, just answer the question." "Well, jeans maybe. A nice sweater. Something comfortable, but presentable." Daniel looked at his closet. He owned exactly 0 pairs of jeans. "I don't have jeans." "You don't?" Margaret stopped herself. "Would you like me to have some delivered?" "No time. What else?" "Khakis. A button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. That's casual but still put together." Daniel found a pair of navy khakis he'd forgotten he owned and a light blue Oxford shirt. He put them on and looked in the mirror. He looked like a CEO trying to look casual. "Good enough," he muttered. He stopped at 3 stores on the way to Sarah's apartment. First, a toy store, where he spent 20 minutes paralyzed by options before a helpful employee guided him toward a stuffed elephant that was popular with the 6 to 8 demographic. Second, a flower shop where he bought a modest bouquet of sunflowers because they seemed warm and hopeful and not too romantic. Third, a grocery store where he bought strawberry ice cream, chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream, and 3 different types of toppings because he didn't know what Sarah liked and didn't want to get it wrong. He arrived at the apartment building at 5:47 p.m. He sat in his car for 10 minutes gripping the steering wheel. "You can do this," he told himself. "It's just a birthday party. You've negotiated billion-dollar deals. You've spoken to thousands of people at conferences. You can eat cake with a waitress and her daughter." But this felt harder than any of that. This felt real. At 5:58, he got out of the car, gathered his bags, and walked up to apartment 2C. He knocked. The door flew open immediately. "You came?" Lily launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his legs. "Mama, Daniel came. I told you he would." Daniel stood frozen for a moment. Arms full of bags, a small child attached to his knees. "Hi, Lily." "What's in the bags? Is that ice cream?" You brought ice cream? Mama, he brought ice cream. Sarah appeared behind her daughter, smiling. She'd changed out of her waitress uniform into a simple green dress that made her eyes look even bluer. Her hair was down, falling past her shoulders. She looked younger, softer. Lily let the man breathe. Sarah gently detached her daughter. Come in, Daniel. Please. He stepped inside, and immediately the apartment felt different than it had the day before. There were balloons now, not many, maybe a dozen, clearly inflated by Lily, based on their varying sizes. A hand-drawn banner hung across the living room wall. Happy birthday. Mama in wobbly letters decorated with hearts and flowers. I know it's not much, Sarah said, noticing him looking around. Lily insisted on decorating. It's perfect, Daniel said, and meant it. He held out the sunflowers. These are for you. Happy birthday. Sarah took them with both hands, her expression shifting. Daniel, you didn't have to. I wanted to. And the ice cream. I didn't know what flavor you liked, so I got several. And toppings. Probably too many toppings. Sarah laughed, and it was a beautiful sound, surprised and warm and genuine. You bought toppings. Chocolate sauce, caramel, sprinkles, whipped cream. I may have panicked. You panicked about ice cream toppings. I'm not good at this, Daniel admitted. Birthday parties. Being a normal person. I haven't done this in a long time. Sarah's expression softened. You're doing fine. She took the bags from him. Come sit down. Lily showed Daniel where to sit. Lily grabbed his hand and dragged him to the small couch. Sit here. This is the best seat. You can see the cake from here. Mama put it on the table. It looks so pretty. Mama almost cried when she saw it this morning. I did not almost cry, Sarah called from the kitchen. You did too. Your eyes got all shiny. Daniel smiled. Shiny eyes definitely means almost crying. See, Daniel agrees with me. Sarah emerged with the sunflowers in a mason jar. Don't gang up on me. It's my birthday. It's Daniel's birthday too, Lily said. Remember, he's my birthday cake partner. That was yesterday, Daniel said. Birthday week, Lily declared. You get a whole week. That's the rule. I don't think that's a real rule. It is now. I made it up. Mama tell him birthday week is a rule. Sarah set the flowers on the small dining table next to the chocolate cake that still looked impossibly beautiful. In this house, birthday week is definitely a rule. Lily beamed triumphantly. They ate pizza first delivery, nothing fancy, but somehow the best pizza Daniel had tasted in years. Maybe because he was eating it on a second-hand couch with a 6-year-old who kept stealing pepperoni off his plate, and a woman who laughed at her daughter's antics with tired, loving eyes. Tell me about your work, Sarah said, handing Daniel a napkin. Lily said you build computer programs. Software mostly. Enterprise solutions. Honestly, it's boring to explain. Try me. Daniel hesitated. He was used to people either being intimidated by his success or trying to leverage it. He wasn't used to genuine curiosity. We build systems that help big companies manage their data, track inventory, analyze sales patterns, predict market trends. It's all very technical and not very exciting. But you built it yourself. The company. From nothing. Started in my garage 15 years ago with a laptop and a credit card I couldn't really afford. Catherine thought I was crazy. He said her name without thinking, and then froze. Sarah noticed. Your wife. Yes. Daniel set down his pizza. Sorry, I don't talk about her. You don't have to apologize, and you don't have to talk about her if you don't want to. No, He stopped, took a breath. I want to, I think. It's just been so long since I've let myself. Sarah waited, patient, unhurried. She was a teacher, Daniel said quietly. 3rd grade. She loved kids. She was so excited when she found out she was pregnant. We'd been trying for 2 years. She'd almost given up hope. He stared at his hands. Everything was fine. The whole pregnancy was perfect. And then, it wasn't. Something went wrong during delivery. They couldn't stop the bleeding. I lost them both within an hour. The apartment was quiet. Even Lily had gone, still watching him with those two knowing eyes. I shut down after that. I didn't know how to exist in a world where they weren't. So I just stopped feeling anything. I went back to work. I built the company bigger. I filled every minute with noise and activity so I wouldn't have to think. He looked up at Sarah. And it worked. For 3 years. Until yesterday. Until your daughter looked at me and asked why I was sad, and I couldn't remember the last time anyone had seen me. Sarah reached across and put her hand on his. I'm so sorry, Daniel. I'm sorry too. This is your birthday. I shouldn't be. Stop. Her voice was gentle but firm. You're allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to grieve. That's not a burden on anyone else. It's just being human. Daniel looked at her hand on his. Small, warm, real. I've forgotten how to be human, he said. Maybe that's something you can learn again. Mama learned again, Lily said quietly. Both adults turned to look at her. After Daddy died, Mama was really sad for a long time. She didn't smile. She didn't laugh. But then she started learning how to be happy again. She says it takes practice. Sarah's eyes glistened. That's right, baby. It does take practice. So Daniel just needs to practice, Lily concluded. And we can help him. Right, Mama? Sarah looked at Daniel. If he wants help, she said softly, we're here. Daniel couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. So he just nodded. Lily hopped off the couch. Okay, now it's cake time. Mama, sit at the table. Daniel, you light the candles. I'll turn off the lights. The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Lily darting around, turning off lights and arranging chairs. Daniel carefully lighting 30 candles on the cake while trying not to set anything on fire. Sarah laughing at both of them, her earlier sadness tucked away somewhere safe. When the candles were lit, the cake glowed in the darkness. 30 tiny flames reflected in Sarah's eyes. Ready? Lily asked. Ready, Sarah said. They sang happy birthday. Lily's voice high and enthusiastic. Daniel's low and rusty from disuse. Sarah sat at the tiny table with tears running down her face, watching her daughter and this stranger sing to her in her cramped apartment, and thought about how strange life was. How pain could live right next to joy. How the worst days could lead to unexpected blessings. Make a wish, Lily commanded. Sarah closed her eyes. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she blew out all 30 candles in one breath. What did you wish for? Lily asked immediately. Can't tell you. Then it won't come true. Not even a hint. Not even a hint. Lily pouted. That's not fair. Life's not fair, baby. But sometimes it surprises you anyway. Sarah looked at Daniel as she said it. He felt something shift in his chest. They ate cake and ice cream until Lily's face was covered in chocolate and her eyes were drooping. Sarah carried her to the bathroom to wash up, and Daniel could hear them through the thin walls. Lily's sleepy protests, Sarah's patient murmurs, the sounds of water and toothbrushing, and a bedtime routine practiced 1,000 times. He looked around the small apartment, at the handmade banner, the deflating balloons, the photos on the walls of a family that had been broken and rebuilt again and again. He thought about his penthouse, 4,000 square feet of emptiness. Sarah emerged a few minutes later, closing Lily's bedroom door gently behind her. She's out, she said. All that sugar caught up with her. She's an amazing kid. She is. Sarah sat down on the couch, leaving space between them. She doesn't usually connect with people like this. She's friendly, but she keeps her guard up. What you saw yesterday, that was unusual. What do you mean? Sarah tucked her feet underneath her, getting comfortable. When her father died, she was only 3. She doesn't remember much about him, but she felt the loss anyway. Kids do, even when they can't understand it. And then it was just the two of us struggling to survive. She learned early that people leave, that nothing is guaranteed. She paused. But yesterday, something about you. She trusted you immediately. She saw something in you that made her feel safe. That's rare for her. Daniel didn't know what to say. I don't know why, he finally admitted. I'm not a particularly trustworthy person. Not because I'm dishonest, but because I'm not present. I'm never fully there. I'm always somewhere else in my head. Maybe that's why she trusted you. Because you were there. In that moment in the bakery, you were actually present. She could feel it. Daniel thought about that. I was present because she demanded it. She asked me why I was sad and I couldn't hide. I couldn't deflect. She saw right through me. Sarah smiled. She does that. It's terrifying sometimes, having a child who sees everything. She gets it from you. Sarah blinked. What? The way you look at people. You see them, really see them. You did it to me yesterday when I was standing at your door and you knew immediately that something was going on. You read me in about 5 seconds. Sarah looked away, but he caught the flush rising in her cheeks. I've had to learn to read people. Single mother working service jobs. You learn to spot the dangerous ones quick. Did I seem dangerous? No. She met his eyes. You seemed sad and lost, and like you'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen. Daniel held her gaze. I had, until yesterday. The moment stretched between them, something electric and fragile. Sarah broke it first, looking down at her hands. Daniel, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. Why are you really here? He frowned. What do you mean? I mean, you're a billionaire. You could be anywhere in the world right now, with anyone, doing anything. And instead you're in my tiny apartment, eating grocery store pizza and birthday cake with a waitress and her kid. Why? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Do you want the honest answer? That's what I asked for. I don't know. Sarah's eyebrows rose. I don't know why I'm here, he continued. I don't know why I stopped at that bakery yesterday. I don't know why your daughter's question cracked me open when nothing else has in 3 years. I don't know why sitting on this couch feels more like home than my apartment has ever felt. He ran a hand through his hair. I just know that I'm tired. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of pretending to be okay. I'm tired of building a life that looks perfect from the outside, but feels like a prison on the inside. He looked at her. And when Lily invited me here, something in me said yes. Not my brain said it was crazy. But something deeper, something that's been asleep for 3 years. It said yes. Sarah studied him for a long moment. I don't need your money, she said quietly. I need you to understand that. Whatever this is, whatever's happening, I don't want anything from you. I've spent 3 years building a life on my own. I'm proud of that life. It's hard and exhausting, and sometimes I don't know how I'm going to make it to the next day, but it's mine. I know. Do you? Because men like you, you're used to buying things, buying people, buying your way into situations. And I need you to know that doesn't work here. Lily and I aren't for sale. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand, and I respect that, more than you know. So, if you're going to be in our lives, if that's what's happening here, it has to be real. No games, no power dynamics, just people, being people together. That's what I want, Daniel said. I think. I'm still figuring out what I want. It's been so long since I wanted anything at all. Sarah's expression softened. That's honest. I'm trying. She smiled. Just a little. That's a start. Daniel left at 10 p.m. after helping Sarah clean up and insisting on taking the trash down to the dumpster despite her protests. He stood at the door, not wanting to leave, not sure what to say. "Thank you," he finally managed. "For letting me come. For being honest with me. For what? For making me feel like maybe I'm not completely broken." Sarah stepped forward and hugged him. It was quick, just a few seconds, but Daniel felt it everywhere. The warmth of another person. The simple kindness of human contact. Something he'd been starving for without knowing it. "You're not broken," she said, stepping back. "You're just hurt. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Broken means you can't be fixed. Hurt means you can heal." She opened the door for him. "Come back next week. Sunday dinner. Lily will never forgive me if I don't invite you." Daniel stepped into the hallway, then turned back. "Sarah." "Yeah." "Happy birthday." She smiled. That real smile he'd seen glimpses of all evening. "Thanks, Daniel, for everything." He walked down the stairs and out into the cold night air. And for the first time in 3 years, Daniel Whitmore didn't feel alone. The following Sunday came faster than Daniel expected. He found himself standing outside Sarah's apartment at 5:55 p.m. holding a bag of groceries because she'd told him not to bring anything and he'd ignored her completely. The door opened before he could knock. "I knew you'd bring something." Sarah stood there with her arms crossed, but she was smiling. "What did I say?" "You said not to bring anything. I heard you. I just didn't listen." "Clearly." "I brought ingredients for my grandmother's pasta recipe. Catherine taught me how to make it. It's the only thing I can actually cook." Sarah's expression shifted. "You want to cook for us?" "If that's okay." "I figured. I've been eating your food. Letting you host me. I wanted to contribute something." Sarah stepped aside to let him in. "Lily's going to lose her mind. She's been talking about you all week." "Daniel." Lily came flying out of her bedroom and crashed into his legs. "You came back. I told Mama you would, but she said not to get my hopes up, but I knew you would." Daniel looked at Sarah, who shrugged. "I didn't want her to be disappointed if you didn't show. I said I'd come." People say a lot of things. There was something behind those words. A history of broken promises, of people who left. Daniel filed it away. "Well, I'm here, and I'm making pasta." Lily's eyes went wide. "You can cook one thing. I can cook exactly one thing. That's one more thing than Mama." "Hey!" Sarah swatted her daughter gently. "I can cook." "Mama, you burned water last week." "That was an accident, and you're not supposed to tell people about that." Daniel laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised him. He spent the next hour in their tiny kitchen, Lily perched on the counter beside him, as his official assistant Sarah leaning against the doorway with a glass of wine watching them. "More garlic," Lily instructed, pointing at the cutting board. "That's already a lot of garlic." "Garlic is good for you. Mama says it keeps vampires away." "Are vampires a big problem in this neighborhood?" "You never know." Sarah snorted. "She's got you there." Daniel added more garlic. As the pasta cooked, Lily peppered him with questions. What was his favorite color blue? What was his favorite animal dogs? But he didn't have one. Did he like dragons? He'd never thought about it. How could he never think about dragons? They were the best. Fine. He liked dragons now. "You're very persuasive," Daniel told her. "Mama says I could sell ice to penguins." "Eskimos," Sarah corrected. "The saying is, sell ice to Eskimos." "Penguins live in ice, though. It makes more sense." Daniel looked at Sarah. "She's not wrong. Don't encourage her." Dinner was simple. Pasta with homemade sauce, garlic bread that Daniel had brought, a salad that Sarah threw together while pretending she knew what she was doing. They ate at the small table, knees bumping, elbows crowding, and Daniel couldn't remember a meal that had felt more like home. "This is really good," Sarah said, her eyes closed as she savored a bite. "Where did you learn this?" "Catherine's grandmother was Italian. She taught Catherine. Catherine taught me." We used to make it every Sunday." The words came out naturally. No flinching, no freezing up. Sarah noticed. "You're talking about her more," she said quietly. "That's good. It feels easier. Here." He paused. "With you." Their eyes met across the table. Lily looked between them with a knowing expression that no 6-year-old should possess. "Mama's cheeks are red," she announced. Sarah's cheeks got redder. "Eat your pasta, Lily." "I'm just saying. Eat your pasta." After dinner, they moved to the couch for what Lily called family movie time. She insisted Daniel sit in the middle with her on one side and Sarah on the other. They watched an animated movie about a princess and a dragon, and Lily provided running commentary throughout. Halfway through, Lily fell asleep, her head on Daniel's shoulder. Neither adult moved. "She doesn't do this," Sarah whispered. "Fall asleep on people. She barely even falls asleep on me anymore. Says she's too big for cuddles." Daniel looked down at the small head resting against him, felt the weight of her trust. "I don't want to mess this up," he said quietly. "Mess what up?" "This, whatever this is, you and Lily, being here, feeling like—" He struggled for words. "Like I belong somewhere." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "You know what I was thinking the first time you came over? That I was a stalker." She laughed softly. "No, well, maybe a little. But mostly I was thinking that Lily has good instincts, and if she trusted you that fast, there had to be a reason. And now—" Sarah shifted slightly, close enough that he could feel her warmth. "Now I think maybe I'm starting to trust you too." The weeks that followed settled into a rhythm. Sundays were pasta nights. Wednesdays were homework nights where Daniel would come over after work and help Lily with her reading while Sarah caught a few extra hours at the restaurant. Some Saturdays they went to the park or the zoo or just walked around the city eating ice cream and pretending the world wasn't hard. Daniel found himself leaving work earlier, taking fewer calls on weekends, delegating things he used to insist on handling himself. His CFO noticed. "You've been different lately," Marcus said during their quarterly review. "Distracted." "I'm not distracted. I'm just redistributing my attention." "To what?" Daniel hesitated. "I've met someone." Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "Someone like a woman. Someone—" "A woman. And her daughter. It's complicated." "Daniel." Marcus leaned forward. "You haven't dated anyone since Catherine. You haven't even looked at anyone. And now suddenly there's a woman and a kid. It's not like that. We're just friends." "Friends?" "Yes, friends." Marcus studied him. "You're smiling." "What?" "Right now, you're smiling. I haven't seen you smile in 3 years." Daniel touched his face, surprised. "I guess I am." "Then I'm happy for you." Marcus paused. "Just be careful. Whoever this woman is, she and her daughter are real people, with real feelings. If you're not sure about this, I'm sure." The words came out before Daniel could think about them. "I'm sure," he repeated more quietly. "I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I know I want to keep doing it." But not everyone was happy about Daniel's transformation. His sister called on a Thursday afternoon, her voice sharp through the phone. "We need to talk." "Hello to you too, Victoria." "Don't hello me. I just had lunch with Carol Mitchell. She says she saw you at the zoo last weekend with a woman and a child who was calling you by your first name and holding your hand." Daniel sighed. Carol Mitchell was a society gossip who'd never liked him. And who is this woman, Daniel? Who is this child? What are you doing?" "I'm living my life. Is that a problem?" "Living your life." Victoria's voice rose. "You've been a ghost for 3 years. You've barely spoken to me to anyone in the family. And now suddenly you're playing house with some random woman and her kid." "She's not random." "Then who is she? Because I've asked around and no one knows her. She's not in our circles. She doesn't show up on any donor lists or charity boards. Who is she, Daniel? Daniel felt his jaw tighten. Her name is Sarah. She's a waitress and a part-time office cleaner. She's a widow. She's raising her daughter alone, and she's the kindest person I've met in a very long time. Silence. Then, a waitress. Yes. A waitress with a child. Yes. Daniel. Victoria's voice dropped to that tone she used when she thought he was being stupid. Do you have any idea how this looks? You're one of the most eligible bachelors in the city. You're worth $2 billion. And you're spending your time with a waitress. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like she's less than you. Like she doesn't matter because she doesn't have money. I'm not saying she doesn't matter. I'm saying she's not appropriate. Daniel laughed. A cold, hard sound. Appropriate. That's a word Catherine would have hated. Don't bring Catherine into this. Why not? Catherine was a third-grade teacher. She didn't come from money. She wasn't appropriate either. But she was the best person I ever knew. That was different. How? Catherine didn't have a child. Catherine wasn't some stranger who showed up out of nowhere right when you're vulnerable. Sarah didn't show up. Her daughter did. In a bakery. Because she was trying to buy a birthday cake with $5 she'd saved for 3 months. Daniel's voice broke. She was trying to give her mother something beautiful, something special, because her mother works 2 jobs and cries at night and never has anything for herself. And I was standing there drowning in money and loneliness, and this child looked at me and asked why I was sad. He took a breath. That's who they are, Victoria. They're not after anything. They don't want anything from me except my presence, my time, me. Do you have any idea how long it's been since someone wanted just me? Victoria was quiet. I'm worried about you. She finally said, her voice softer now. I know. I just don't want you to get hurt. I've been hurt for 3 years. This doesn't hurt. This is the opposite of hurt. But what if it doesn't work out? What if she's not who you think she is? Then I'll deal with it. But I'm not going to push away the first good thing that's happened to me because it might go wrong. Victoria sighed. Can I meet her? At least before you get any more involved. I'll ask her. But Victoria, be kind. If you're not kind to her, you and I are done. I mean it. I'm always kind. You're always polite. That's not the same thing. He hung up before she could respond. The dinner with Victoria was a disaster. Daniel had warned Sarah, told her his sister could be difficult, told her not to take anything personally, but nothing could have prepared either of them for Victoria in full protective older sister mode. So, Victoria said, swirling her wine. Sarah, tell me about yourself. They were at a restaurant of Victoria's choosing. Expensive. Formal. The kind of place where Sarah looked uncomfortable from the moment they walked in. Not much to tell. Sarah's voice was steady, but Daniel could see her hands trembling slightly. I'm a waitress. I have a daughter. I'm doing my best. And before that? What did you do before you were a waitress? I was a nursing student. I had to drop out when my husband died. How tragic. Victoria's voice was perfectly calibrated to sound sympathetic, while actually being condescending. And you've never gone back, finished your degree. Hard to go to school when you're working 2 jobs to keep a roof over your head? Of course, of course. Victoria leaned forward. And Daniel, how exactly did you meet my brother? Sarah glanced at Daniel. At a bakery. My daughter was there. Ah, yes. The famous $5 story. Daniel's told me about that. Very heartwarming. The word dripped with skepticism. Daniel felt his blood pressure rising. Victoria. I'm just making conversation. Victoria smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. It's quite a story, isn't it? a struggling single mother, a billionaire, a chance meeting. It sounds like something out of a movie. Sarah's spine straightened. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm just observing that the circumstances are fortunate. For you. Victoria, that's enough. Daniel's voice was sharp. I'm just protecting you, Daniel. That's what family does. No. Sarah spoke quietly, but something in her tone made both siblings stop. That's not what family does. Family supports each other. Family trusts each other. Family doesn't ambush someone at dinner and imply they're a gold digger. Victoria's eyes narrowed. I never said, you didn't have to. Sarah set down her napkin. I've been talked down to by people like you my whole life. People who think that because I don't have money, I must be after something. That I couldn't possibly just care about someone. She looked at Daniel. I'm sorry. I can't do this. She stood up. Sarah. Daniel started. I'll get a cab. I need to relieve the babysitter anyway. I'll come with you. No. Her voice softened. Stay. Talk to your sister. Work this out. But I won't sit here and be interrogated like a criminal. She walked out. Daniel turned to Victoria. The fury on his face made her lean back. What the hell was that? I was protecting you. That wasn't protection. That was cruelty. That was snobbery. That was everything I hate about our family wrapped up in a single dinner. Daniel, please. Someone has to look out for you. You've been so isolated, so vulnerable. And Sarah has been nothing but kind to me, nothing but patient, nothing but real. She's never asked me for a single thing. Not money, not connections, not access. She didn't even want me to help pay for Lily's school supplies, and her daughter uses pencils that have been sharpened down to nubs. He stood up. I have spent 3 years being managed by people like you, being handled, being kept at arm's length, so no one has to deal with my grief. And then I met a little girl who asked me why I was sad, and a woman who actually sees me. Not my money, not my company, me. Daniel. We're done here. He walked out, leaving Victoria alone at the table. He caught Sarah on the sidewalk halfway to the corner. Sarah, wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. I am so sorry, he said, reaching her. I had no idea she would be like that. I mean, I knew she could be difficult, but that was reality. Sarah finally turned. Her eyes were wet. That's what your world looks like, Daniel. People who judge. People who assume. People who will never see me as anything other than a poor woman with her hand out. That's not my world. That's Victoria's world. It's the same world. You live in it even if you don't like it. Daniel took her hands. Then I'll leave it. I'll leave all of it. I don't need that world. I don't need any of it. Sarah shook her head. You can't just say that. I mean it. Daniel, you have a $2 billion company. You have responsibilities, employees, a board. You can't just walk away from all of that because your sister was mean to me at dinner. Watch me. That's not how life works. Then tell me how it works. Daniel's voice cracked. Tell me how I'm supposed to do this. Because I've been doing it the right way for 3 years, and I've been miserable. I've been dying inside. And then I met you and Lily, and for the first time I can breathe. I can feel something. I can imagine a future that doesn't just look like an endless gray nothing. He pulled her closer. I don't care about appropriate. I don't care about what people think. I only care about whether you and Lily are in my life. Everything else is negotiable. Sarah stared at him. You barely know us. I know enough. 3 months. That's all it's been. 3 months that have been more real than the last 3 years. Sarah's tears spilled over. I'm scared, she whispered. I'm scared that this is too fast, that you're going to wake up one day and realize you made a mistake, that Lily's going to get attached and then you're going to leave just like everyone else. I'm not going anywhere. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. Daniel cupped her face in his hands. I can promise to try. Every single day. To show up. To be present. To choose you and Lily over and over again for as long as you'll let me. Sarah closed her eyes. I don't know how to do this. I've been alone for so long. Then we'll figure it out together. Both of us. Learning how to not be alone anymore. She opened her eyes. Okay. 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 We'll try. Together. Daniel kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then softly her lips. Sarah kissed him back there on the sidewalk outside a restaurant where his sister was probably still fuming in a city full of people who would judge them both. And neither of them cared. 6 months passed like a heartbeat. Daniel sold his penthouse and bought a modest house in Sarah's neighborhood. Nothing extravagant. 3 bedrooms, a small backyard, a kitchen big enough for Sunday pasta nights. When his realtor saw the property, she thought he was joking. Mr. Whitmore, this house is worth less than your annual property taxes. It's perfect. It doesn't even have a pool. I don't need a pool, I need a home. He moved in on a Saturday. Lily helped by carrying boxes she could barely lift and directing everyone on where things should go. Sarah brought food and tried not to cry every time she saw Daniel unpacking Catherine's things with careful, gentle hands. You're keeping her photos up, Sarah said quietly, watching him arrange frames on the mantel. Of course. Even now, even with us. Daniel set down the wedding photo and turned to face her. Catherine isn't competition, Sarah. She's part of who I am, part of what brought me to you. I wouldn't have been in that bakery if I hadn't lost her. I wouldn't have been broken enough to let Lily see through me. He pulled Sarah close. I love you. And I loved her. Those two things can exist together. They have to. Sarah pressed her face into his chest. I just don't want you to feel like you have to hide her, or pretend she didn't exist. I would never do that. And I don't want you to feel like you're replacing her. You're not. You're something new, something I never expected and don't deserve. You deserve everything. I'm starting to believe that. They stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other, while Lily's voice echoed from somewhere in the house. Daniel, where do you want your dragon statue? The one I picked out? I think it should go in the living room where everyone can see it. Daniel laughed against Sarah's hair. The dragon stays. The dragon stays? Sarah agreed. Work became complicated. Daniel was stepping back, delegating more, trying to build a life that didn't revolve around quarterly earnings and market share. But the board wasn't happy. His investors weren't happy. And Victoria, despite their fractured relationship, had been making calls. We need to talk. Marcus appeared in Daniel's office doorway, his face grim. The board met this morning, without you. Daniel looked up from the report he wasn't really reading. And they're concerned about your personal situation. My personal situation. Their words, not mine. Marcus sat down heavily. Look, Daniel, you know I support you, whatever makes you happy. But there's talk about the company's image, about whether you're still committed to leadership. I've never missed a deadline. Revenue is up 12%. The new product launch is ahead of schedule. It's not about the numbers. It's about perception. You've been photographed at playgrounds, at school events. You were seen at a PTA meeting last week. Daniel felt his jaw tighten. I'm building a life. Is that a crime? To some of these people? Yes. Marcus leaned forward. They want a CEO who's married to the job, who bleeds company colors, and you're showing them that there are things more important than the bottom line. Because there are. I know that, you know that, but they don't, and they're starting to ask questions about your judgment. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. What are they threatening? Nothing yet, but Victoria's been talking to Harrison and Mitchell, planting seeds, suggesting that maybe it's time for a leadership transition. My own sister. She thinks she's helping you. She thinks she's controlling me. There's a difference. Daniel stood up and walked to the window. What do you think I should do? Marcus hesitated. Honestly, I think you need to decide what you want, because you can't have both. Not the way things are going. Either you recommit to being the Daniel Whitmore everyone expects, the workaholic, the perfectionist, the man who puts the company first, or you accept that there might be consequences for choosing a different path. What kind of consequences? They could force you out. You still control the majority of shares, but if enough board members turn against you, they can make your life very difficult. Delay projects, block initiatives, leak things to the press. Daniel turned around. Let them. Daniel, I mean it. Let them try. I've spent my entire adult life building this company. I've given it everything. My time, my energy, my marriage in some ways, my grief. And what did I get? An empty penthouse and a heart that forgot how to feel. He walked back to his desk. Sarah and Lily gave me something this company never could. They gave me a reason to come home, a reason to look forward to tomorrow. And if the board thinks they can take that away from me by threatening my job. He smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. They're welcome to try. The confrontation came 3 weeks later. Victoria had organized a special board meeting. She'd presented it as a strategic review, but Daniel knew what it really was. An intervention, an attempt to remind him who he was supposed to be. He walked into the conference room and found 12 faces staring at him, some sympathetic, some hostile. Victoria at the far end, her expression carefully neutral. Daniel, Harrison said, gesturing to the empty chair. Please, sit. Daniel remained standing. I'll stand. This shouldn't take long. We're concerned about you. This from Mitchell, a man Daniel had never liked. Your focus seems to have shifted. My focus is exactly where it needs to be. The company needs leadership, full attention, not someone who's distracted by... Mitchell waved his hand vaguely. Personal entanglements. Personal entanglements. Daniel let the words hang in the air. You mean my family? You don't have a family, Victoria said quietly. You have a woman you've known for 6 months, and her child. They are my family, whether you recognize that or not. Daniel, please. Harrison's voice was softer. We're not trying to attack you. We just want to understand. 3 years ago, you were the most dedicated CEO in the industry. You worked 18-hour days. You drove this company to heights no one thought possible. And now I have a life. Is that so terrible? It's unusual, and unusual makes investors nervous. Daniel looked around the room, at these people who thought they knew him, who thought they had the right to dictate how he lived. Let me tell you something about the last 3 years, he said slowly. You all thought I was dedicated, focused, driven. But the truth is, I was dying. Every single day. I buried myself in work because I couldn't face going home to an empty apartment. I answered emails at 3 a.m. because sleeping meant dreaming about my dead wife. I was a hollow shell pretending to be a person, and none of you noticed, or cared. The room went silent. 6 months ago, I met a little girl in a bakery. She had $5 and a dream of buying her mother a birthday cake. She looked at me, really looked at me, and asked why I was sad. And in that moment, something broke open inside me. Daniel's voice cracked. She and her mother showed me what I'd been missing, what I'd given up. They showed me that there's more to life than profit margins and market share, that being successful means nothing if you're alone. He looked directly at Victoria. I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago, thank God. That person was miserable. That person was barely surviving. This person, the one standing in front of you now, is actually alive, actually happy, for the first time since Catherine died. Victoria's expression flickered. So here's what's going to happen, Daniel continued. I'm going to keep running this company, because I'm good at it and because it matters. But I'm also going to keep building my life. I'm going to leave at 5 p.m. to have dinner with my family. I'm going to take weekends off. I'm going to go to school plays and birthday parties and PTA meetings. Because that's what normal people do. And I want to be normal. Finally. He headed for the door. If any of you have a problem with that, you know where to find my resignation letter. But I think you'll find that a happy CEO is actually better for business than a miserable one. People perform better when they're not running on fumes and despair. He paused at the threshold. This meeting is over. The fallout was surprisingly minimal. A few board members grumbled. Mitchell resigned in protest, which Daniel considered a net positive. And Victoria called him that night. I've been wrong. Daniel almost dropped his phone. What? I've been wrong. About Sarah. About all of it. Her voice was smaller than he'd ever heard it. I watched you in that meeting today, and I realized I hadn't actually looked at you in years. Really looked. I was so busy managing you, protecting you, that I missed how much pain you were in. Victoria. I'm sorry. For the dinner. For going behind your back. For trying to control your life when I should have just been happy that you were finally living it again. Daniel sank onto his couch. I don't know what to say. Say you'll give me another chance. Say you'll let me meet Sarah properly, without me being a complete monster this time. She might not want to. I know, I wouldn't blame her. But I'd like to try, if she's willing. Daniel thought about Sarah. Her fierce protectiveness. Her hard-won pride. The way she'd walked out of that restaurant with her head held high. I'll ask her. The second meeting went better. Victoria came to Sunday pasta night. She brought wine and flowers and an apology she'd clearly rehearsed, but that sounded genuine. Sarah was cautious, but civil. Lily, who harbored no grudges, immediately decided that Victoria needed to learn how to make garlic bread, and spent 20 minutes teaching her. More butter, Lily instructed. You're being stingy with the butter. I've never been called stingy in my life. There's a first time for everything. Sarah caught Daniel's eye across the kitchen and smiled. It wasn't perfect. Victoria still said things that made Sarah's spine stiffen. Sarah still had moments of insecurity when Victoria talked about their childhood or dropped casual references to money Daniel had forgotten he had. But they were trying. All of them, and trying was enough. After dinner, while Lily showed Victoria her collection of dragon drawings, Sarah pulled Daniel onto the back porch. I want to ask you something. Anything. Lily's birthday is next month. She's turning 7. I know. I've had it marked on my calendar since October. Sarah smiled, but there was something uncertain in her eyes. She asked me something last night. When I was putting her to bed. What? Sarah took a breath. She asked if you were going to be her dad someday. Daniel's heart stopped. What did you tell her? I told her I didn't know, that those were big questions and we'd have to wait and see. Sarah looked at him. But she kept asking. She said that Marcus at school has 2 dads, and Emily has a stepdad, and she wanted to know if she could have a dad too. A real dad. Not just someone who comes over for dinner. Daniel couldn't speak. I'm not asking you for anything, Sarah added quickly. I know 6 months isn't long. I know this is all still new. I thought you should know. What she's thinking, what she's hoping for. Daniel finally found his voice. What are you hoping for? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm trying not to hope for anything, because hope is dangerous. Hope means you can be disappointed. Sarah. I've been alone for so long, Daniel. I've built walls so high I forgot there was anything on the other side. And then you showed up with your sad eyes and your pasta recipe, and Lily fell in love with you and I. She wiped her eyes. I'm falling in love with you too. I think I already have. And it terrifies me. Daniel pulled her into his arms. I love you. You don't have to say that just because I'm not saying it because you said it. I'm saying it because it's true, because I've known it for months, but I was too scared to say it out loud. He held her tighter. I love you, Sarah Patterson. I love your strength and your pride and your stubbornness. I love the way you look at Lily like she's the most precious thing in the world. I love the way you've let me into your life, even though every instinct told you not to." He pulled back to look at her face. "And I love Lily. That kid walked into a bakery with $5 and saved my life. She made me remember what joy feels like, what family feels like." Sarah was crying freely now. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want this, all of it. Not just Sunday dinners and Wednesday homework sessions. I want mornings and evenings and every moment in between. I want to be there when Lily loses her first tooth and graduates from high school and falls in love for the first time. I want to grow old watching her grow up." He cupped Sarah's face in his hands. "I want to be her dad. If you'll let me. If she'll let me." "Daniel, I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. I know we need more time. But I'm asking you to let me in. Really in. Let me be part of this family. Officially. Permanently." Sarah laughed through her tears. "You're crazy." "Probably. We've known each other 6 months. Best 6 months of my life. There will be problems. My family is complicated. I have debt. I can't give you. I don't want anything from you except you. And Lily. That's it. That's everything." Sarah kissed him, hard, desperate, full of hope she'd been holding back. When they broke apart, Lily was standing in the doorway watching them with wide eyes. "Are you kissing?" Sarah wiped her face quickly. "Maybe. Does that mean Daniel's going to be my dad?" Daniel and Sarah looked at each other. "Would you want that?" Daniel asked, crouching down to Lily's level. "Would you want me to be your dad?" Lily's face scrunched up in thought. Serious consideration. This was important. "Would you come to my birthday party? Every single year. Would you help me with homework even when it's hard? Especially when it's hard. Would you still make pasta on Sundays?" "Always." Lily nodded slowly. "Would you love me even when I'm bad?" Daniel's eyes burned. "Lily, I already love you. I've loved you since you walked into that bakery with your $5 and your brave little heart. And nothing you could ever do would change that. Nothing." Lily threw herself into his arms. "Okay," she said into his shoulder. "You can be my dad." Daniel held her tight and let the tears fall. Sarah knelt down and wrapped her arms around both of them. And there, on the back porch of a modest house in an ordinary neighborhood, 3 broken people became a family. The adoption papers were filed the following spring. It wasn't simple. Nothing worth having ever is. There were home visits and background checks and interviews and mountains of paperwork. There were moments when Sarah wondered if they were moving too fast, and moments when Daniel worried he wasn't good enough. But they kept going. Together. Because that's what family does. On the day the adoption was finalized, they went to Mrs. Chen's bakery. "Well, well," Mrs. Chen said, coming around the counter with tears already in her eyes. "Look at you 3, the birthday cake partners." Lily bounced on her toes. "Guess what, Mrs. Chen, Daniel's my dad now. For real. We have papers and everything." "Is that so?" "And Mama and Daniel are getting married. In June. I get to be the flower girl." Mrs. Chen looked at Daniel and Sarah standing hand in hand, radiating the kind of joy that fills a room. "I knew it," she said softly. "That day you walked in here, both of you so sad, so lost. So, I knew something was going to happen. I could feel it." "You're invited to the wedding," Sarah said. "We wouldn't have it without you." "I'll make the cake, my gift to you." "Mrs. Chen, you don't have to." "I want to. I've watched a lot of people come through this bakery over 30 years. But you 3, she shook her head. "You're special. What you have is special. And it started right here with $5 and a child's love." She pulled them all into a hug. "Now, what can I get you today?" Birthday cake partners get free cookies for life. That's the rule. Lily grinned. "I'll have chocolate chip, and Daniel will have oatmeal raisin because he's old. I'm 43. That's not old. It's pretty old, Sarah laughed. She's got you there. Daniel looked at his family, his daughter, his soon-to-be wife, the baker who'd witnessed the beginning of everything. Yeah, he said, smiling wider than he ever had. I guess she does. The wedding was small. 50 people in a garden behind Mrs. Chen's bakery, folding chairs arranged in rows, fairy lights strung through the old oak tree that had been there longer than anyone could remember. Sarah had insisted on simple. Daniel had insisted on beautiful. They'd compromised on both. Victoria sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief she'd probably paid too much for. She'd changed over the past year. Softened. She called Lily her niece now, and meant it. Mrs. Chen had outdone herself with the cake. 3 tiers of chocolate with buttercream roses cascading down the sides. Just like the first cake. The one that started everything. But the real star of the ceremony was Lily. She walked down the aisle in a white dress with a basket of rose petals scattering them with the intense concentration of someone performing heart surgery. When she reached the front, she turned to the guests and announced, "You can all sit down now. The important part is coming." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Daniel watched Sarah walk toward him, and everything else disappeared. The guests, the music, the years of loneliness and grief and empty rooms. All of it faded away until there was only her. This woman who had given him back his life without asking for anything in return. "Hi," she whispered when she reached him. "Hi. You look terrified." "I am. Is it obvious?" "Only to me." She squeezed his hands. "Don't worry. I've got you." "I know you do." The ceremony was brief. They'd written their own vows, but when the moment came, Daniel forgot every word he'd prepared. "I had a speech," he said, his voice rough. "I practiced it for a week. But standing here looking at you, none of it seems like enough." Sarah's eyes glistened. 11 months ago, I walked into a bakery because I was lost. I didn't know I was lost. I thought I was fine, thought I was surviving, but I was drowning. Slowly. Quietly. And then your daughter looked at me with those serious eyes and asked why I was sad. He took a breath. She saw me. And then you saw me. And seeing me, you didn't run away. You let me in. You let me be part of something I'd given up on ever having again. His voice cracked. I promise to see you, Sarah, every day. To notice when you're tired, and when you're worried, and when you need someone to just sit with you. I promise to make pasta on Sundays, and to leave work at 5, and to be the man you and Lily deserve. He wiped his eyes. I promise to love you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you showed me that it's okay to be broken as long as you let someone help put you back together. Sarah was crying freely now. Daniel, she started, then laughed through her tears. I also had a speech, and I'm also going to ignore it. The guests laughed softly. When my husband died, I thought love was over for me. I thought I'd had my chance, and that was it. I was going to be alone forever, and that was just how life worked. She squeezed his hands tighter. Then you showed up. This sad, beautiful man who bought a $75 cake for a stranger's child. Who walked her home. Who came back. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You kept coming back, even when I pushed you away. Even when I tested you. Even when my fear told me to run, you stayed. She reached up to touch his face. I promised to let you in. All the way in, no walls, no protection. I promised to trust you with my heart, and with my daughter, and with all the messy, complicated parts of me I usually hide. She smiled. I promised to love you, Daniel Whitmore, for the rest of my life, even when you burn the garlic bread. That was one time. It was 3 times. The first 2 don't count. The minister cleared his throat gently. I believe we have rings. Lily stepped forward, holding the pillow with excessive care. I didn't drop them, she announced, even though they're really small and the pillow is slippery. Good job, sweetheart. Sarah took the smaller ring. I know, I practiced. They exchanged rings, said the words. And when the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Daniel kissed Sarah like they were the only two people in the world. Lily tugged on his jacket. "Can I call you Dad now? For real?" Daniel knelt down so they were eye to eye. "You can call me whatever you want. You've earned it." "Okay, Dad." She tested the word out, then again. "Dad." She threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Dad." Daniel held his daughter and thought about Catherine, about the family they'd planned together, about the dreams that had died with her. And he realized something he hadn't expected. This wasn't a replacement. This wasn't moving on. This was living. Finally, after 3 years of barely existing, he was actually living. "I love you too, Lily. More than you'll ever know." The years that followed were not perfect. There were struggles. Sarah's old car finally gave up completely, and Daniel had to convince her that buying her a reliable vehicle wasn't charity, it was common sense. There were arguments about money, about parenting, about how much garlic was too much garlic. There were hard conversations with Lily about her biological father, about death, about why some people left and others stayed. There were nights when Daniel's grief came back unexpectedly, triggered by a song, or a smell, or a date on the calendar. Sarah held him through those nights without judgment. There were moments when Sarah's pride flared up, when she felt like she wasn't contributing enough, when the wealth gap between them seemed impossible to bridge. Daniel learned to step back, to let her fight her own battles, to support without smothering. They learned each other. The hard way. The real way. And through all of it, they kept choosing each other. Every single day. Lily turned 8, then 9, then 10. Daniel was there for all of it. Birthday parties with homemade cakes from Mrs. Chen. School plays where Lily forgot her lines and improvised better ones. Parent-teacher conferences where they sat together a united front and heard how their daughter was thriving. She started calling Catherine Dad's first wife, with the casual acceptance of a child who'd grown up knowing death was part of life. She asked questions about her sometimes. What was she like? What did she teach? Would she have liked me? She would have loved you, Daniel always said. She wanted to be a mother more than anything. And I like to think she sent you to me. Her gift. Her way of making sure I didn't stay lost. When Lily was 11, Sarah finished her nursing degree. She'd gone back to school 2 years after the wedding, taking night classes while Daniel handled bedtime routines. It had been hard. There were semesters when she wanted to quit, when the exhaustion seemed unbearable, when she felt too old and too behind. But she'd pushed through. And on graduation day, Daniel and Lily sat in the audience and cheered so loud they were asked to quiet down by an usher. "I'm so proud of you," Daniel said afterward, holding her diploma like it was made of gold. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You were doing it before I came along. I just made it a little easier." Sarah kissed him. "You made everything easier, and harder, and better, all at once. That's what husbands are for." She started working at the Children's Hospital 6 months later. Night shifts mostly because old habits died hard. But she was doing what she'd always dreamed of, helping people, making a difference. And she came home every morning to a husband who had breakfast waiting and a daughter who wanted to hear every story. When Lily turned 13, she asked Daniel a question he'd been dreading. "Dad, can we visit them? Catherine and the baby?" Daniel froze. They'd never gone to the cemetery together. He went alone once a year on the anniversary. He'd never thought to bring Lily. "Why?" he asked carefully. "Because they're family." Lily sat on the edge of his desk, her legs dangling. She was getting so tall, so grown up. "Aren't they?" "Yes, they are." "Then I should meet them, properly. I've only heard stories." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "Okay," he finally said. "We'll go. This weekend." They went on a Sunday afternoon. Sarah stayed home, understanding that this was something between Daniel and Lily. father and daughter. The cemetery was quiet, peaceful. Daniel led Lily to the headstone he knew by heart. Catherine Marie Whitmore, beloved wife and mother, 1985 to 2020. And beneath it, smaller baby Emma, who never got to see the world, but who was loved. Lily read the words slowly. Emma, she said. That's a pretty name. Catherine chose it. Before things went wrong. Lily knelt down and touched the stone. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Emma. I'm Lily. I know we've never met, but I wanted to say thank you for loving my dad, for making him happy before I got to. Daniel's throat closed up. He talks about you sometimes, Lily continued. He says you were like sunlight, and that you would have been an amazing mom. I think you would have been too. She paused. I'm going to take good care of him. I promise. Him and my mom. We're a family now, and I think maybe you helped make that happen. Dad says he found us because he was lost, but maybe you helped him find the way. She placed a small bouquet of flowers she'd picked that morning against the headstone. Thank you for sharing him with me. Daniel couldn't speak. He just put his hand on Lily's shoulder and let the tears fall. They stood there together for a long time, father and daughter, their end, saying goodbye and hello at the same time. Years continued to pass. Lily turned 14, then 15, then 16. She got her driver's license and promptly backed into a mailbox. She had her heart broken by a boy named Tyler and then again by a girl named Maya. She decided she wanted to be a doctor, changed her mind to lawyer, changed it back to doctor. Through all of it, Daniel was there, steady, present, the father she'd chosen and who had chosen her. Sarah's career flourished. She became head nurse of the pediatric unit, then started a program for children aging out of foster care. Inspired, she said, by Daniel's stories about what almost happened to a little girl with $5 who could have been lost in the system. Daniel stepped back from the company entirely when Lily was 17. He remained on the board, kept his shares, but handed day-to-day operations to Marcus. Are you sure? Marcus asked. I'm sure. I've given this company enough of my life. It's time to give the rest to my family. He used his time to start a foundation. The Catherine and Emma Whitmore Foundation for Women and Children. It funded scholarships, provided emergency housing, supported single mothers trying to finish their education. In its first 5 years, it helped over 3,000 families. Mrs. Chen retired the year Lily turned 18, but she still came by the bakery every Saturday to check on things. Her daughter ran it now, continuing the tradition. And every October, on the anniversary of the day they'd met, Daniel and Lily went back to that bakery. They ordered a chocolate cake with buttercream roses and chocolate chip cookies. They sat at the same table by the window. Do you remember, Lily asked, the October of her senior year, what you felt that day when you walked in? Daniel thought about it. Empty, he said finally. I felt empty. I'd felt empty for so long I didn't even notice it anymore. It was just how things were. And then I annoyed you. You didn't annoy me. You amazed me. I asked why you were sad. That's pretty annoying. It was the kindest thing anyone had done for me in 3 years. You saw that I was drowning and you threw me a lifeline. You didn't have to. You were 6 years old with $5 and a mission to buy your mom a cake. But you stopped. You saw me. You decided I mattered. His voice caught. That's not annoying, Lily. That's grace. Lily looked at him with those same serious blue eyes she'd had at 6. Older now. Wiser. But still the same girl who noticed when people were hurting. You saved me too, you know. What do you mean? Before you, I was scared all the time. Scared that Mama would get too tired and something would break. Scared that we'd lose our apartment. Scared that I'd have to be strong forever, because there was no one else to be strong. She wiped her eyes. Then you came. And suddenly I could be a kid again. I could worry about homework and friends and whether dragons were better than unicorns. I didn't have to be scared anymore. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. You shouldn't have had to be scared in the first place. You were 6. I know, but that's how it was. And then it wasn't. Because of you. She smiled. Birthday cake partners for life, right? For life. Lily's graduation came on a warm June afternoon. The auditorium was packed. Daniel sat between Sarah and Victoria Mrs. Chen on Sarah's other side, the whole family together watching Lily walk across the stage. She was valedictorian. Of course she was. The girl who'd learned to read with book after book, who'd worked twice as hard as everyone else, because she knew what it meant to struggle, who'd turned her pain into purpose. When she stepped up to the podium, Daniel stopped breathing. I'm supposed to talk about the future, Lily began. About dreams and possibilities and all the amazing things waiting for us out there. But I want to talk about something else first. I want to talk about the past. She looked out at the crowd. 12 years ago, my mom was working 2 jobs. We lived in a tiny apartment. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and I wanted to give my mom something special for her birthday. Something beautiful. Because she deserved beautiful things, even if we couldn't afford them. Sarah was already crying. Daniel put his arm around her. I saved my allowance for 3 months, 25 cents a week. I ended up with $5. I was so proud of that $5. I walked into a bakery thinking I could buy the most amazing cake in the world. Lily's voice caught. I couldn't, of course. $5 doesn't buy much, but that day in that bakery, I met a man who looked like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He was sad, really sad, the kind of sad that goes all the way down. She found Daniel's eyes in the crowd. I asked him why he was sad. I don't know why I did it. I was 6. I didn't know anything about social conventions or minding my own business. I just saw someone hurting, and I wanted to help. She took a breath. That man became my father. Not because of biology, not because of obligation, but because we chose each other. He helped me buy my mom's birthday cake, and I invited him to the party. It was that simple, and that complicated. She wiped her eyes. He taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about showing up, every day, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when you'd rather hide from the world. She straightened up. My biological father died when I was 3. I don't remember him. But I believe he would have been proud of who I've become. And I know that my dad, Daniel Whitmore, the man who walked into a bakery on the worst day of his life and found a little girl with $5 and a dream. I know he's proud too. Daniel nodded through his tears. So here's what I've learned. Lily continued. Success isn't about grades or money or achievements. Success is about connection. About seeing people, really seeing them, and choosing to help. About recognizing that we're all carrying something heavy and deciding to help carry it together. She looked at her classmates. We're going out into the world now. We're going to face challenges and failures and moments when giving up seems like the only option. But I want you to remember something. Her voice rang clear across the auditorium. It only takes one moment of kindness to change a life. One question, one invitation, one $5 bill offered with love. She smiled. My dad always says I saved his life that day. But the truth is, we saved each other. That's what family does. That's what community does. That's what humans are capable of when we stop being afraid and start being kind. She took one final breath. So go out there. See the lonely person in the room. Ask them why they're sad. Invite them to your table. You might just find your family. The auditorium erupted. Daniel was on his feet before he knew what he was doing, applauding so hard his hands hurt. Sarah was sobbing. Victoria was dabbing her eyes. Mrs. Chen was nodding and smiling and crying all at once. And Lily stood at the podium, looking out at all of them, at this family she'd built from a moment of courage in a bakery 12 years ago. After the ceremony, they went to the bakery one last time. All of them. Daniel and Sarah and Lily and Victoria and Mrs. Chen and her daughter. They pushed together tables and ordered too much food and laughed until their sides hurt. "To Lily," Daniel said, raising his glass of sparkling cider. "The bravest person I know. The girl who saw a lonely man and decided to do something about it. The daughter I never expected and couldn't live without." "To Lily," everyone echoed. Lily grinned. "To birthday cake partners," she said, raising her own glass. "And to second chances. And to $5 miracles." They drank. They laughed. They told stories about the old days, about the hard days, about the days when everything seemed impossible. And when the evening wound down and the bakery began to close, Daniel took a moment to stand by the window. The same window Lily had pressed her nose against 12 years ago, looking at cakes she couldn't afford. Sarah came to stand beside him. "What are you thinking about?" "That day. How close I came to missing all of this. If I'd gone to a different bakery, if I'd left a minute earlier, if Lily hadn't asked me why I was sad." "But she did." "She did." Sarah took his hand. "I'm glad you were sad that day." Daniel looked at her. "What? I know that sounds terrible, but if you hadn't been sad, you might not have been open. You might have brushed her off, ignored her, kept walking." She squeezed his hand. "Your grief led you to us. Catherine's death led you to a new life. That's not something to feel guilty about. It's something to be grateful for." Daniel pulled her close. "I'm grateful. Every single day." Lily bounded over her graduation cap askew. "Dad, Mom, Mrs. Chen's daughter says we can take home the leftover cake. Can we?" "Of course, sweetheart." Lily threw her arms around both of them. "I love you guys." "We love you too, baby." They walked out of the bakery together, arms full of leftover cake and cookies, hearts full of something that couldn't be bought or sold or measured. And Daniel thought about the man he'd been 12 years ago. Lost. Empty. Convinced that his life was over. He'd walked into a bakery because he didn't know where else to go, and he'd found everything he'd stopped believing in. A family. A purpose. A reason to keep going. All because a little girl with $5 had looked at him and asked a simple question. "Why are you sad?" The answer had changed his life. And the truth he knew down to his bones, was that the richest man in the world isn't the one with the most money in the bank. It's the one who has people to come home to. People who see him. People who choose him. Every single day. That's what Lily had given him with her $5 bill and her serious blue eyes. Not charity. Not pity. Connection. And connection, Daniel had learned, was worth more than all the money in the world. It was worth everything.